Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thanks for joining us on the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday. Hey, baby, how you doing?
I am fantastic. How are you?
Well, it'd be better if I could use my computer. I'm gonna,
It's been...
gonna be reading my stuff off my phone today.
That's what happens when you beat the crap out of things when you're angry with your spouse.
I didn't.
Serves you right as far as I'm concerned.
You have to understand, this computer is like ancient. It's running XP. Every time I turn it on, it's
all
like,
the more reason to be ginger.
it's like, are you serious? You still want to use this? So this morning, when I banged my hand on the keyboard a little harder than I should have, it's like, I'm done. See you later.
I don't need this.
Yeah, I don't have to take this. Coming up later in the program, we have James Duane. He is the author of a book called The Right to Remain Innocent. And it's actually kind of interesting because you might remember him. There was like a viral video going around a couple years ago that he was shared millions of times. And we're going to talk to him about the book that he's put together based on that coming up in a bit. Thanks for listening. Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. It's Wednesday, October the 5th. Today is Balloons Around the World Day. It is International Day of No Prostitution. Well, shouldn't that be every day? It is International Kale Day. Who's going to celebrate that? We have some friends that were telling us, oh, you got to try kale. It's really good. No, it's not. Maybe we just didn't have the right recipe. That could be.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was.
I'm sure if you put enough sugar on it, it'd probably be great. It's Pet Obesity Awareness Day today, Walk to School Day today, and World Teachers Day.
And it's probably Get a New Computer Day today
well, it is
as
for
well.
Me. Yeah, I'm reading all of this off of my phone right now, which is awesome. Where are my glasses? I'm going to have a terrible headache by the time this program is done.
I already have a terrible headache, and the show just started.
Oh, hey, look at that. I can read these things now. All right. Thanks for listening on this special day, the 5th day of October. It's a Wednesday.
John and Heidi.
Legally, we gotta have insurance. That's why getting the very best rate is paramount. I'm Jared Parsons. I founded the first national and virtual insurance agency. Until now, you were limited to the agents in your area. But what if the rates are better somewhere else? At Parsons, we shop around and we get you the best rate. It's that simple. Go to radioinsuranceguy.com. That's radioinsuranceguy.com.
John and Heidi.
You know it's true because you heard it on the radio. A limo driver in Chicago got a pretty nice tip, Heidi. It was probably the best tip of all time for Abdul Fajar, and it wasn't even money. Guess what it was?
What was it?
A kidney. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A customer and businessman, Dave Baker, offered up a kidney when he was visiting with Abdul, and he learned that his kidneys were failing because of diabetes, despite 3 times a week sitting at a kidney dialysis machine. The transplant surgeries went down at Chicago's Northwestern Memorial Hospital, and Abdul says, he gave me a part of his body. He saved my life. Baker has used Abdul as his driver on trips to Chicago for several years. A few months ago, I'm using my phone and my screen went off right in the middle of the story. I apparently need to set that so it doesn't go off. Either that or I need to quit talking so darn long. Back to the story here. A few months ago, he learned Abdul's poor health and struggled to find a kidney donor. And they said, you know what? What is your blood type? And he found out that they matched. So he asked me, he said, I'm O positive. He said, guess what? I'm O positive as well. So I'll give you that kidney. I think that's really cool. So this is a guy who had no reason whatsoever to do it. It's not like he had to do this, but he chose this. And I think that is an absolutely wonderful story. This could have been our good news for the day.
There you go.
I mean, every day we always try to end this show. For those of you who don't hear that part, we always try to end the show with good news. This could have been it today.
There you go. That is good news. That's very sweet.
But it was so unbelievable. It had to fit here. And you know it's true because you heard it on the radio.
John and Heidi.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again,
844-204-1055.
And this is your brain on drugs. A special delivery has a mailman getting a little bit of trouble. A former letter carrier, Ronald Birkin, has been sentenced to 18 months in federal prison for selling pot on his mail route. Or route, however you say that. Prosecutors say he also resigned from the Postal Service as part of a plea deal. He was busted after police in Lake Oswego, Oregon, say a 19-year-old fingered him as his pot connection. So they're saying this guy got busted, this 19-year-old kid up there in Oregon. And they said, where are you getting this? And he's like, from the mailman. So,
how would you even start that conversation
I don't know.
as a mailman?
It's like, so
here's your mail.
Been bringing you papers.
You're like smoking a little weed. I happen to have some
I just
in my
don't understand.
vehicle.
Yeah, that would be a really awkward conversation, you would think. But once again, he got caught. So this, kids, is what happens when your brain is on drugs.
John and Heidi.
Now your moment of duh. It happens to all of us. Most of us either suck it up and head off to work or at least call in sick, right? But not in Sri Lanka. An airline flight attendant wanted the day off so badly she decided she was going to take her own actions. She phoned in a bomb threat.
Oh, man.
How was she caught? Well, they traced the call. They found it was made from a mobile phone belonging to her boyfriend. So there you go.
Good thinking.
Yeah, you probably, first of all, I want to say this. If you want a day off work, just call in sick. There you go. Wouldn't that be a lot easier?
A whole lot easier.
Yeah, because I can't imagine that calling in a bomb threat would be easier than just calling in and I don't feel good. There you go. That's all you would have to, and it wouldn't cause any international panic or anything. So,
by the way, I'm not feeling well.
Yeah.
You
should have coughed
I
first, and I might have believed you. Try it again.
That didn't work. Do you hear that ticking?
The rest of the program will be done from the front lawn. All right. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
The Scoop of the Day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now, your Scoop of the Day. In an effort to get a picture of Australian environmentalist Steve Irwin on Australia's banknotes, it's gaining traction. They're working right now. A petition to get Steve Irwin, who died 10 years ago. Can you believe that was 10 years ago?
I remember that.
I do, too. It seems like it was like 2 or 3 years ago.
I don't know why I remember that, because I didn't even watch his show.
Well,
so I don't know
but
why that stands out.
It was a tragedy
mind.
because he seemed like such a nice guy.
Yeah, he did seem
I was like,
a neat guy.
not that if he was a jerk, you'd be like, what you got coming? But I'm just saying he seemed like such a really cool fella. Anyway, they've been pushing to get this done. It's surpassed the 25,000 signatures that they said they needed. The plan is to deliver it to the Royal Australian Mint. Behind the petition is 16-year-old Kyle Ryan of Melbourne. I always thought it was Melbourne, but I talked to a guy from there. He's like, no, you're saying it wrong. Melbourne, Australia. He said several of his friends and he are the ones that kind of started this thing. He says the new generation needs somebody they can look up to, and Steve is the perfect person. So there you go. I think that's kind of cool.
Alrighty.
In New York, a man named Denzel Washington took a plea deal for strangling his mom, whose name is Aretha Franklin.
Oh, funny.
So not that
the real
Denzel.
Denzel would never
and not
do
that Aretha, but that is absolutely true. That's a true story. Denzel Washington strangled Aretha Franklin, but it was two different people with, just happened to have those names. And it was it was mother and son. So crazy. Moving right along. Researchers at, why do I have, I'm trying to read this off my phone today. And of course they would throw the weirdest words in there. Let's try this. Researchers at Östra Skogendal University College in Stockholm.
I was going to say Sweden.
I'm sure I nailed it. They had 20 women around 80 years old gather once a week for 4 months to look at various works of art and discuss them. They said the attitudes and creativity improved their blood pressure, and it went down. And oddly, they needed fewer laxatives and suffered less constipation just by looking at art with a bunch of other ladies.
Gives you the
I don't think.
Is that what we're supposed to take away from that?
I don't think that's
story?
where you can't even say that on the radio. So pretty sure we're going to have to bleep that. Hey, you have nice eyes. That's one compliment people are hearing on a busy street in the nation's capital. Artist Tom Greaves has created what he calls the compliment machine. It's a bright red and white striped box that automatically says nice things about people as they walk past. So that's kind of cool. Heidi, you have nice eyes.
I know.
Yeah, I wish I had
It's my
better.
best feature, actually.
No, it's not. You got great features all over the place. I like it over here and down there and over there. All good features. She's my wife, by the way, so I can notice all the features. Just saying. A poll by the University of South Australia reveals that 1 in 3 Australian executives admitted to falling asleep during meetings. It doesn't say that 1 in 3 did. 1 in 3 admitted to it. The others were over there with fake eyes drawn on their eyelids. Like, me sleeping? No. What are you talking about? All right. And our final story here. Think back to your last vehicle purchase. If you made it with your spouse, if you and your spouse went to purchase the vehicle together, who really made the final decision? I'm going to just pause right here and ask. When we go and buy a vehicle, who makes the decision, me or you?
Me.
Always?
Always.
Okay, then let's move on. If you ask him, it was him. It was me.
Really?
If you
think about our last vehicle purchase, you had nothing to do with that.
I was vaguely in the vicinity of the... If you ask her, it was her. A recent study found 72% of men think they were the ones that were most influencing, and 60% of women think they had the most to say. Meanwhile, we can't all be right, so I think it's probably the ladies that are right. I should probably silence my phone now, shouldn't I?
I literally found a picture, and I said, we're going to go and buy this, and we went and we bought it.
See? But I was the one that drove you there, so... If it weren't for me, we would have never gotten that vehicle.
Yeah.
All right, this has been your Scoop of the Day.
John and Heidi.
Election day is almost here. No matter which side you're rooting for, you now have a place to get informed and to truly voice your opinion at PoliticalStorm.com. An amazing resource with information from people on both sides of the aisle, all in one place. Watch videos, read blogs, listen to podcasts like mine, and read fun editorials. You can also contribute with your own blog for free. Be a part of the community at PoliticalStorm.com. You have a choice, and now you have a voice, too, at PoliticalStorm.com. That's PoliticalStorm.com. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday. We've got a guest joining us today. James Duane is a professor at Regent Law School in Virginia Beach, Virginia. He received the Faculty Excellence Award there in the fall of 2002. He became very prominent because of a video online from 2008. We'll visit with him a little bit about that. But he's got a new book out called You Have the Right to Remain Innocent, and we're going to chat with him right now. Mr. Duane, how are you, sir?
Very good. Good. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much for chatting with us here. Now, first of all, let's talk about the lecture that was out a couple years. Is it like 2 years ago or 2008? I guess is when it was. Don't Talk to Police, and that's kind of what went viral, and people were going nuts about this. And then they're saying, "Hey, you need to write a book." So, what was it that led up to the Don't Talk to Police lecture that you had put out?
I was concerned about a number of times that I saw comments in the newspaper at around that time by people who ought to know better, saying that when somebody takes the Fifth Amendment, that probably confirms that they've got something to hide or that they're guilty of some kind of a crime, which is a popular misconception. 50 years ago, even the Supreme Court of the United States said too many people who ought to know better mistakenly think that the Fifth Amendment is only for guilty people. And I wanted to make sure that people understood that's not true, that the Fifth Amendment and the right to remain silent are equally valuable, even to the innocent, because of all the different ways in which innocent people can get themselves in a lot of trouble by answering questions from the police, even if they tell the truth.
And the right to remain silent is something that not just when you're with police, but with your spouse as well. Sometimes I need to use that right.
That's exactly right.
So now, the book, You Have the Right to Remain Innocent, this is a book that just came out, and I know there's been a lot of things happening in the last year or so that have really probably helped make this book very timely. So let's talk a little bit about the book. What kind of things are we going to learn inside of the book, You Have the Right to Remain Innocent?
There's a number of things you learn from the book. The most important thing you learn at the beginning of the book, I set out approximately 10 different ways in which an interview with the police or any other government agent, not necessarily the police, could go very badly for you, even if you're innocent. And I give lots and lots, dozens of real-world examples of innocent people who made the biggest mistake of their life when they thought, I've got nothing to hide. I know in my heart I've done nothing wrong, and then they went ahead and gave information to the government that was then later used to successfully prosecute them for a crime it turns out they didn't even commit. Or, perhaps even worse yet, a crime that they had never even heard of and that nobody in their right mind would ever think might be against the law. The other thing that you learn in the book is how to invoke the right to remain silent, or how to exercise your right to remain silent, what to say and what not to say, which is more complicated than you might think. You might be tempted to think, well, what difference does it make? I'll just tell the police I'm taking the Fifth. But you've got to be very careful about how you word your invocation of the Fifth Amendment, because there have been plenty of additional cases also described in the book where people got themselves in trouble because of what they did or what they did not say when explaining to the police why it was they didn't want to answer their question.
One of the most recent and probably quite popular versions of somebody taking the fifth is during a congressional hearing. So it wasn't necessarily in court, it was in Congress, but with the Hillary Clinton servers and the people that set them up, there were several people that have pled the fifth, and instantly a firestorm of people on the internet saying, guilty, guilty, guilty. But what you're saying is, not necessarily. Innocent people can plead the fifth as well.
Oh, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. About 50 years ago, Justice Robert Jackson, who was the former Attorney General, was an Associate Justice on the Supreme Court when he wrote that any lawyer with his salt will tell his suspect, his client, not to talk to the police under any circumstances. And he didn't say if the client is guilty. He just said, no, any competent lawyer will always tell the client, no, don't talk to the police. This is well known among lawyers, and it has been for half a century or more. But you're exactly right. The average man on the street doesn't understand. It's not their fault. But people who don't have intimate experience with the criminal justice system simply don't understand how easily and how often innocent people can get themselves in a great deal of legal trouble they absolutely did not deserve, and come back and spend the rest of their life looking back on that fateful day as the biggest mistake of their life. And that's why most people mistakenly think, well, if somebody takes the fifth, like you said, that must mean that they are guilty. But the truth is just the opposite. Any competent lawyer, when asked by the client, hey, is it okay if I talk to these people? The government wants to talk to me. A lawyer's not going to say, well, it depends. Are you guilty or are you innocent? Any lawyer, any competent lawyer will say no. The answer is no. You take the fifth. You don't talk to them. The point behind the book is just to get the word out so that everybody out there will understand what it is that every lawyer and every police officer and their children already understand. The subtitle of the book, by the way, is what police officers tell their own children about the Fifth Amendment. Because I've learned going around the country when I've spoken to thousands of law school students and college students about this subject, a great number of them have told me, you know what, my dad is a cop or my mom's a prosecutor, and they told me the same thing when I was 10 years old. Don't talk to the police. I'm just trying to make sure that everybody else's kids find out the same thing that the police are telling their own kids.
Again, visiting right now with James Duane. He's the author of a book called You Have the Right to Remain Innocent. Now, are there people right now that are, on the law enforcement side of things that are against this book? Or, as you were just talking, a lot of them are telling their own kids this. Are they welcoming this book?
Well, no. The police aren't welcoming this book. Quite the contrary. I have one friend of mine who's a prosecutor told me a few years ago that she pleaded with me. She said, listen, don't get this word out too widely. She said, I'll never be able to close all my cases if I can't get people to keep confessing the way that they do. But although they don't welcome the book, police officers don't disagree with this book either. I've received thousands of letters and emails in the last 8 years about this subject from all kinds of people around the world. Many of them report that they are cops or former police officers. Obviously, I can't assume that they're all telling me the truth, but I assume that most of them are. But the people who write to me who claim to be police officers, almost invariably they say, listen, everything you said is true. It's all true. I don't deny it.
And there's definitely a right way and a wrong way to do things because you want to comply. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where things turn ugly and get bad, but you certainly have that right. Now, one of the things that was really troubling for me, I watched a video online of a lady who was claiming to be a free inhabitant. Have you seen these at all, or do you know anything about that?
I've heard a little bit about that, yes, in other groups.
And it was so disturbing because this officer was doing everything he could to try to be as kind and nice as he could, and this lady was just being ridiculous, claiming I'm a free inhabitant, and somehow, according to her on this video, she doesn't need to obey any of the rules of our planet. I don't quite understand that, but somebody like that should maybe read this book as well to learn that there is a right way to keep yourself out of trouble, and there's probably a way that she was doing to dig a really deep hole and get yourself in a lot of trouble.
Yes, that's right as well, sure, yeah.
Now, the book, You Have the Right to Remain Innocent, where can we find a copy of this?
It's available for sale on the Amazon website. It's published by Little A, which is a division of Amazon Publishing. So the easiest way to get it is on Amazon.
Well, I certainly appreciate you taking some time to chat with us. Thank you for writing this, and we appreciate you being a guest on the program.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for your interest in the book.
And again, the book is called You Have the Right to Remain Innocent. Our guest today is the author of that book, James Duane. It's available right now on Amazon. Thank you so much for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Are you ready for Duel? Kyle Dowling on guitar, Brett Gunderson on bass, Sam DeVito on drums, and frontman Duel Shape.
sucking, gotta keep sucking, bringing it down like rain.
Duel's new single just hit iTunes and it's selling fast. Get your copy now.
You're locking chains and you feel no pain. Supernova gonna get you too.
Their first single, Supernova, is available now for less than $1. Learn more and find a direct link to buy Supernova at facebook.com/duelrocks.
John and Heidi.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Grandpa Munster, also known, his real name is Al Lewis, used to be a college basketball recruiter.
I loved the Munsters.
Yeah, that was a fun show.
Still do love the reruns
and he was
of
a
the
neat guy.
Munsters.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Man first drove a car 60 miles per hour all the way back in 1903.
Really?
Yeah, so that was a long time ago, and it was the famous 999 built by Henry Ford, and it was Barney Oldfield that became the first man to hit 60 miles an hour. Many doctors back then said if you do that, it could kill you or at least cause deafness.
Huh.
And he said, what? Hey, fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
If an orangutan belches at you, you better watch out. He's warning you to stay out of his territory.
Wow.
I believe Charlie does that same thing. Hey, fun fact for you,
What's
Heidi.
that, John?
Tipping a waiter at a restaurant in Iceland is considered an insult. Meanwhile, we should move to Iceland. I'm just kidding. I don't mind tipping, especially if
I don't
somebody's
mind
like
tipping if it's been really good service.
awesome service. It
irritates me
over-tip.
to tip at all if I have been treated like dirt. It irritates me, but it's like expected. That totally makes me mad.
And
so
here's
if you
the
want
thing.
good tips, provide good service.
There are servers right now that are really good servers that agree with you and say, you know what, that's right. And there are probably servers that are awful servers that are mad at you
They'll
right
say,
now.
I deserve it.
So anyway, moving right along. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Legally, we gotta have insurance. That's why getting the very best rate is paramount. I'm Jared Parsons. I founded the first national and virtual insurance agency. Until now, you were limited to the agents in your area. But what if the rates are better somewhere else? At Parsons, we shop around and we get you the best rate. It's that simple. Go to radioinsuranceguy.com. That's radioinsuranceguy.com.
John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday. Instructions for life, Heidi. You ready for this?
I am ready.
Take into account that great love and great achievements involve great risk. Ooh, never thought of that. Remember that not getting what you want is sometimes a wonderful stroke of luck. I've had that happen in life, too, where you really wish things would have went one way and then it didn't work out, and then you look back and go, wow, I'm really glad that all happened exactly the way that happened. If that hadn't happened, you and I wouldn't be sitting in this room together right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would have never even met you. So I'm kind of glad that sometimes things happen that we don't really plan. Next, when you realize you've made a mistake, take immediate steps to correct it. Well, maybe I shouldn't have thrown that in right after the story about me and you, but that was just a coincidence.
Nice.
Number 7, spend some time alone every day. Number 6, remember that silence is sometimes the best answer.
Oh, I agree with that.
Number 5, a loving atmosphere in your home is the foundation for your life.
I agree with that.
Number 4, don't let little disputes injure great friendships.
Agreed.
Facebook makes that hard these days, don't they? Man, I've got friends that just like to argue with each other on Facebook, and I try to get in the middle of this and, stop it, and then I get dragged into it too. Follow the 3 R's. Respect for self, respect for others, and responsibility for all of your actions. Mm-hmm. Number 2 on the list, in disagreements with loved ones, deal with only the current situation. Don't bring up things from the past. And finally...
Why did you look at me?
Because you like to bring up things from the past.
So do you.
You're like an argument historian. You can't remember anything, and then all of a sudden, do you remember on October 12th, 1999? I'm like, how do you remember that? And then finally, approach love and cooking with reckless abandon. So there you go. For those of you who are just tuning in, that was Instructions for Life from the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
If you're a business owner or the person in charge of advertising, I have a special offer just for you. We're doing a jingle special this month. Did you know that when you put words to music, they're 9 times more memorable? How would you like to be the name in your industry and have people singing your song? We've worked with hundreds of small businesses to create their own musical image, and we want to help you too. Reach out right now and we'll give you $500 off. Squeeze it into this year's budget and get results for years to come. Learn more and hear examples at RadioReallyWorks.com. That's RadioReallyWorks.com.
John and Heidi.
You could call this a catastrophe.
Oh,
A woman called 911 in Pennsylvania said that she saw a cheetah roaming the streets. A cheetah? Well, she thought she saw a cheetah. What she did see really, though, was a rare 42-pound African cat. It escaped from his home, remained on the prowl. In case you're looking to catch it, Mark is the guy that owns it, Mark Nernberg. He said the description is, it does look kind of like a cheetah with a tan coat, black spots, pointy ears. Answers to the name of Mr. Bigglesworth. Mr. Bigglesworth? He's about the size of a German Shepherd. Don't worry, though. He says, he's just a pussycat. Yeah, sure. This cat, they can grow to be 20 inches high at the shoulders, 3 feet long.
Wow.
They can jump 12 feet. Mark got this 2-year-old feline from a friend when he was a kitten.
Who happened to work at the zoo.
Yeah, Mr. Bigglesworth is declawed. Turns out that Pennsylvania does not require a special license, so he's not in any kind of trouble. So there you go. Mr. Bigglesworth is wandering around, and I'm not sure what he's eating. Probably squirrels and rats, small children. I'm not sure. Anyway, if you see Mr. Bigglesworth, you might want to let Mark know about that.
John and Heidi.
Heidi, you and I could be like Grammy award-winning artists if we come up with a plan like this one right here.
All right.
A new collection of CDs, 24 CDs, and a British artist recorded the sound of silence. And he's selling the recording as a collector's item.
Didn't we just talk about this?
No. And I'm not talking about the sound of silence from Simon and Garfunkel. No.
No.
We're talking about, he spent 24 hours monitoring the BBC's Current Affairs channel, collecting all the gaps between the words in his...
we didn't talk about this because we talked about some guy selling lawnmower sounds.
Yeah, no, that was a different one. But this guy, he recorded off the radio and then edited out all the talking and just left the silent pauses between.
Well, can't you just push play on anything and get that exact same?
He says the silences I'm collecting are actually full of tiny sounds which normally go unobserved. The finished piece consists of 24 audio CDs housed in an archived box. Each CD collected has sounds from 1 hour of that particular day.
Isn't that
Guess how much
super?
he's selling these for, by the way?
I have no clue.
$426 each. Yeah.
For the whole set or per CD?
Does it matter? It doesn't even matter. Did you want to buy those?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Because you know what? When you turn off the TV and you turn off the radio and you turn off the computer and your cell phone, you hear all sorts of silences, all sorts of little noises and silence.
So you're saying
without
you don't need
spending $500.
Don't tell people. We'll record that. All right. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday.
John and Heidi.
Election day is almost here. No matter which side you're rooting for, you now have a place to get informed and to truly voice your opinion at PoliticalStorm.com. An amazing resource with information from people on both sides of the aisle, all in one place. Watch videos, read blogs, listen to podcasts like mine, and read fun editorials. You can also contribute with your own blog for free. Be a part of the community at PoliticalStorm.com. You have a choice, and now you have a voice, too, at PoliticalStorm.com. That's PoliticalStorm.com. Blame your cold on your personality. At least that's a word from researchers at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. They insist that happy, energetic people are more resistant to colds, while people who are depressed, nervous, and angry are 3 times more likely to get sick.
Of course.
Americans get about 1 billion colds every year, but it seems that happy people who are extroverted handle stress well, have a positive, sunny outlook on life, and have a complex social network, and they're more resistant to cold germs. And when they do get a cold, the symptoms are much milder. Here are some of the results of the study. The more relaxed and content a person is, the less likely he or she is to get sick, Heidi.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that stuff?
I do.
Introverted are more likely to get colds than extroverted people. Do you believe that?
Yeah.
That seems kind of weird to me because you'd think extroverted would be around more germs.
No, but I think if you're not exposed to enough germs, you're more susceptible to the ones that come your way.
There you go. Chances of getting a cold are greatly increased if you have a serious amount of stress caused by work or personal issues. The longer you live with intense stress, the more likely you are to catch a cold. I should have a cold right now. People who have a number of roles in their life, spouse, parent, employee, friend, volunteer, club member, all those things, every one of those titles that you have increases your resistance to infection. So get more involved and you'll be less susceptible to infection and more resilient.
There you go.
Number 5, those who had 3 or fewer roles in life were 4 times more likely to catch a cold than people who had 6 or more roles in life. So they're saying that, again, the more involved you are, the less susceptible you are. And finally, number 6 on the list, people with negative personalities were also more likely to complain about their cold symptoms than people with happy dispositions. So do they really get sick more often, or do they just complain about it more? One will never know. Coming up, we've got some good news. That is on the way on The John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always try to wrap things up around here with some good news, and I think this is good news. Dogs are a part of Sarah Malek's Crane's life, so she wouldn't dream of getting married without incorporating her puppies into her wedding. Crane, who sits on the board of directors for a nonprofit rescue organization, asked her bridesmaids to forego bouquets in favor of rescue pups. Each of the 5 bridesmaids
I saw these pictures.
held
I saw them.
a boxer coonhound puppy, and the bride held a 9-week-old pit bull puppy named Biggie Smalls. Our last name is Smalls. My nickname, or actually, our last name is Small, but my nickname since I was a little kid is Big John Small. So I have people who, for whatever reason, think that my nickname is Biggie Smalls. I've worked with people who they've referred to me as that way for like 3 years while we work together. I just want to go on a limb here, and for those of you who have called me that, I hate that nickname. I mean, nothing against the artist that was named Biggie Smalls, but I'm like, that's not, my last name's not even Smalls. It's Small. Anyway, moving back to the story. The couple has 3 dogs of their own, and they often foster animals as well. And I've got a link to this entire story on our Facebook page, facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. What do you think of that? I think that's really cool because she was getting married. She's very involved in animal rescue, and she thought, you know what better way to feature these puppies than to put them in the wedding? Because it worked. Here we are in a completely different side of the world, and we're talking about it.
Wonder how many of those bridesmaids got peed on.
Saying. That is exactly what you would think of this, wouldn't you? You know, when I read this, when you say the word bridesmaids and you say puppies, I instantly thought of a movie, Bridesmaids, where at the shower?
She gave the shower. She was giving away puppies.
And the one lady left with like 8 puppies. I thought that was so funny. If you've not seen that movie, it is a funny movie.
It is a funny movie.
All right. Thanks for listening. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday.